Welcome back. So in today's video, we'll be discussing a very popular condition as well called TBI, which is traumatic brain injury. And so here in the modern world of 2021, we have a number of Iraq and Afghanistan war veterans. I myself served in OIF 0708 and also experienced deployment casualties and so forth as well. So with that being said, I want to personally share this video with you guys about TBI, its effects, how it affects the body, more importantly, how it also has other things that it affects condition-wise as well. But more importantly, the big thing, of course, is being able to have Dr. Nguyen, who's our chief doctor here, that goes over all of our DBQs to educate you about TBI, what exactly TBI is, and how this comes about. So Dr. Nguyen, let us know.
Yeah, so TBI is very, very common in our veterans. It's defined as an alteration in brain function or other evidence of brain pathology caused by an external force. So these are a set of injuries that occur to any part of your head, so your scalp, your skull, your brain, even the tissue underneath the skull, like the tissues and the vessels in your head. As long as it's affected by an external source, it is part of the TBI condition. So it can be as a result of, falls, motor vehicle accidents, injuries, even injuries where you don't have any alteration to the skull in terms of like laceration or impact, but the brain has moved around in a deceleration injury where the brain has moved back and forth in its place. It can cause the injuries as well. These can become gunshot wounds, workplace injuries, military blast injuries, so very common in the military population. Some symptoms of a TBI that you may have experienced can be really similar to other conditions. So headaches, dizziness like vertigo, nausea, vomiting, muscle jerks, sensory symptoms, sensitivity to light, sound, blurred vision, tinnitus, and cognitive changes like mood swings, irritability, memory or concentration issues. So you can see that it's a really large, wide array set of symptoms that are diverse among different veterans as a result of their injuries.
Now with veterans with this particular condition, there's a lot of overlap of other conditions as well. I guess what starts a TBI? Does it have to be a blast or a fall or some type of trauma to the head that starts a TBI, or
just some type of external force? So okay. Even if you're riding in a military vehicle and it suddenly breaks, really quickly, and then your body is slammed back and forth, and that causes the brain to move inside of the skull, that can cause it as well. Or over a number of times, it has happened so many times, it's caused some chronic issues, so just any kind of external force.
Wow. And so a lot of you veterans out there have experienced external forces from, I remember when I was in basic training, we had a pugil stick battle where we were doing combatives and stuff, and I got hit in the head with one of the pugil sticks, and it jarred my brain, amongst other things, like the heat training. If you've been deployed to Kuwait or Afghanistan or Iraq, when I was in Kuwait before I went to Iraq, we went through heat training to help us understand how to evacuate in a time of a rollover from a Humvee. And so there's been other things happening in my deployment, what I won't share here. But the big thing here, the big takeaway is that if you've experienced these symptoms and you have went through these experiences while in military service, it's probably your best interest to get a screening done to see if you do have a TBI, and more importantly, if the evidence comes back that you do, to actually claim it. Now, before we go further into the video, I want to share how a rater looks at this. A big thing, 38 CFR 4.16 is called pyramiding. And pyramiding is essentially where you have different conditions like TBI, PTSD, and migraines that have similar or overlapping symptomatology that are the same in nature in a way. And so what that means is that the VA cannot give a separate evaluation for different conditions that have overlapping or like symptoms. And so what does that mean? If you have a TBI condition, but you have blurred vision, you have cognitive inabilities in some regards, but your migraines also share the same conditions, there is a likelihood that those symptoms combined will either give you a lesser rating for one or other condition or no rating for both. That sometimes happens from a rating standpoint. We've also seen here in the firm where veterans are rated at, let's say, 40% for TBI, that sometimes they will clump TBI and PTSD together and rate it together. That's called an analogous rating, where you take two symptoms and put them as one condition for one rating percentage. And so if you're out there and you're a veteran, you have maybe 40% for TBI, 30% for migraines, and 70% for PTSD, and you're saying, hey, I should increase my migraines, you probably can increase your migraines, but you run the risk of having the other conditions possibly reduced. PTSD can be reduced to 50% in this scenario, or the TBI can be reduced to 0% and the migraines increase to 50%. So if you're out there and you're watching this video, you're trying to do your case on your own, or you're not our client, be very aware that with a TBI case, you run a huge risk of losing other service-connected disabilities that may either decrease your overall rating or keep you the same. I want to share a story with you. A story we had of a client that had TBI at 40%, PTSD at 30%, and migraines at 10%. It was very clear that his migraines were egregious and it caused him not to be able to go to work daily. More importantly, he suffered a divorce and he had an estranged relationship with his kids. His mental health had also exacerbated. In this particular case study, the VA increased him to 70% for mental health. They kept him the same for migraines and they reduced him for his TBI. And what ended up happening for this veteran is he actually lost 10 percentage points. So 38 CFR 3.105E is reductions. The VA has the authority to reduce your VA disability if there are signs that either symptoms are overlapping or, more importantly, your condition has appeared to have gotten better. When you're presenting your case, especially if you're on your own or if you're using a service that is outside of our service, which we can't speak to, you want to make sure that you understand those overlapping symptomatology and, more importantly, how it can affect your case. TBI is very serious, and it's also a condition that affects a lot of Iraq, Afghanistan veterans. But the key here is to make sure that, one, you get all of your money that you're due, and more importantly, if you're suffering from symptoms, you have an expert guide you on which condition will yield you the best results for the rest of your life. Hope you found great value in this video, and we look forward to you being a part of our team. Let's win.